Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining. Cecilia here, and today we're going to paint a magical water lily. This tutorial isn't about the entire painting because I didn't exactly know what I wanted to paint and needed some space to try out, explore and get clear on the whole scenery. But if you'd like to know how to paint the background with these glowing lights or the water surface or the leaves, just let me know in the comments down below and we can have a look at that as well. Also, it isn't quite done yet. I want to paint more trees in the background to deepen the perspective, and there will be one or two fairies. So I'm really excited to see how that evolves. Yeah, I would say without further ado, let's dive right into it. I would look at a reference photo to sketch the shape of the flower. I think that's the best way to capture it. I already sketched the water lily and painted quickly an acrylic underlayer. I did this to just define the shapes and colors of the entire painting. I'd say we start right away with oils. We do 2 layers in total. With the first one, we focus on setting the right color tones and blending, and the second one is for the details and for refining everything. The colors that we need are titanium white, cadmium yellow, pale hue, cadmium yellow, permanent rose, cobalt blue, and ivory black. We're going to use small brushes, a flat brush, a round brush, a filbert brush, and a tiny little brush, roughly the size 1, for the details. Let's start with preparing our color tones. The water lily will be yellow and rose, so we need 4 tones in total. We grab white and divide it into 4 clusters and mix them. To the first we add a little bit cadmium yellow pale hue. This is gonna be our brightest color. To the second one we add a bit cadmium yellow. Then we mix the rose tones. We add a little bit of permanent rose and cadmium yellow as well as a tiny bit of black and mix all of them nicely. This is our light rose color, and then we mix a darker one with only white, permanent rose and black. Actually, I think it's good to make an even darker one just for the purpose of deepening the contrast within the flower. So we use less white than before and more permanent rose and black and a little bit of cobalt blue. We picked a flat brush and start with the shadow areas, which is the lower half of the flower. We paint the 3 petals at the bottom with this darkest shadow color. After that, we use the mid-tone rose color and outline the other petals. Then we paint always the lower half of each petal with the same color, except for the petals in the middle, because they're going to be yellow. Just let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. We now grab the light rose color and blend those 2 colors well. We start with the tip of the petal and move towards the middle and blend it. In this way we guarantee that at the tip the color is bright enough. And also you can see that especially the petals to the sides have this bigger edge that is kind of rounded off because we see the other side of it, and we paint that a little bit brighter and also make a shadow in the inside. In this way we can clearly see the difference of these 2 sides of the petals. For the petals in the middle, we're going to use yellow. We paint with the brightest yellow the tips and then create a smooth transition with the bright rose color by using the second yellow shade, the darker one. The closer we move towards the middle of the water lily, the brighter the petals get. Normally, the middle of the flower would be darker because of the missing light, but since this will be a magical flower, we're going to paint the middle with pure white that represents a glowing light coming from the inside of the lotus flower. And we soften the edges by blending the white light with the colors right next to it. I think that looks pretty good. I like to let it dry for 1 or 2 days until the surface is dry to touch and then go on with the second layer. Now it's dry to touch, therefore we can move on. What we're going to do is basically refining the edges, setting the highlights, as well as deepening the shadow areas, and also we're going to paint fine lines like the veins. I go over this layer again and blend the petals because I want to improve the gradient. You don't need to do that. If you're satisfied with your first layer, you can start right away with painting the highlights and the veins. But if you want to paint over it as well, then let's do this! We use the same colors as before and start at the very top of the flower, the petals right around the white light, and paint the tips with the brightest yellow and then blend it with the darker yellow and a little bit of the bright rose color. And we use this bright rose color and mix it a little bit with the yellow and paint with a tiny brush these thin veins. After that, we use pure white and set the highlights at the very top, and from there paint a thin line downwards at the very edge. This rounds off the petals very well. And we use the same approach for each petal, but we paint them darker the further away we get from the middle. That means we use more of the rose color rather than yellow. So in the lower half of the petal, our brightest color in the light area is the light rose color. We paint the tips with this color, mixed with a little bit yellow, and then blend it with the darker rose color, the shadow color, and now use this shadow color for painting the veins. And obviously for the last 3 petals at the very bottom, we paint lots of shadow but make still a gradient. And for the highlights in the lower half of the flower, like the tips and the edges, we don't take pure white, instead we take the bright rose color mixed with yellow. And the back of the petals that are closest to the water have a little bit more of a bluish tone because of the lighting. So we add a little bit of blue to the color and again create a nice gradient. I hope that's clear. If I should go more into details on how to blend exactly with oils, let me know in the comments down below. As I said, we won't cover the water surface, but I figured that it's also important to say when the pond is clear and the surface calm, there's a reflection. So we use the color of the water lily mixed with the color of the water. In this case it is dark blue, so the color tone that I get is violet. If you have a green pond, it will be a different color. Just use the color that fits the best for your painting. And then we just mirror it. So the axis of symmetry is the 2 petals at the bottom. And I use a filbert brush and a violet color as the basic tone and dark blue for the shadows. Finally, we paint some magical glowing lights going up in the air. For that we use pure white and paint some little dots here and there, and then blend it with the bright yellow and rose color to soften a bit the edges. You can also use different tones if you want to make it even more colorful. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you. If so, give it a thumbs up and also drop all your questions in the comments down below. I wish you a wonderful day and until next time!